And welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, one and all, to a brand new edition of The Quinn Spinn. I'm your host, The Quinn. At least that's how I'm known here on the program, and I'm back here on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and more for another rousing and riveting installment of the official podcast of Underground Music Collective. And you just heard Revel 9's All I've Become at the top of the show. That has been our opening theme song here at The Quinn Spinn since the great year of 2014, and it will be until the very end of days. And I am joined here by Mobile, Alabama native, Nashville-based songwriter, Danny Spiro. I said it right.
You said it right, man.
Yeah, when you were walking in, I'm like, you're like, oh, it's Spiro. I'm like, okay, good. I was going to ask you that.
it can get twisted sometimes, but you're right. Yeah. Spot on.
It's okay. My real name is Gerard, but I get Gerald all the time. Gerald, Garrett, Gary, Greg.
Yeah.
All those. My statistics professor called me Matt for an entire semester.
I've got one of those too.
Yeah.
Trust me. Yeah. I'm with there.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, man. Pleasure to be here.
Excited to have you. And so we introduced you, but I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself by answering the 3 standard questions. Those 3 questions are, who are you? What are your passions? And why on earth would you want to come on the Quinn Spinn?
Well, my name is Danny Spiro. I'm a singer-songwriter and recording artist from Mobile, Alabama. I came to, my passions are exactly, what we're doing. Playing on music on stages, writing songs, getting in the studio, recording them, touring around the country to playing for folks that like our music. And I'd say it's been a ride, man. And I came on the Quinn Spinn because I love your show, man. I've always been a big fan of yours. So,
thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
It's an honor to be on here, man. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. And a lot to dig into, of course, the whole journey that brought you here to this point where you have some really exciting things coming up later this year.
We do.
But before we go there, let's go back all the way back to the beginning as far as you want to go and tell me about the people, the places, experiences, and of course, artists that influenced you and inspired your creative journey.
Well, growing up in Mobile, there are many genres that cover that area between blues, Motown, jazz. It's a sister city of New Orleans. Mm-hmm. So you get that same type of feel, the Creole Cajun mixed with country music and rock and roll. Mm-hmm. So that was always a big thing. And growing up playing music down there, you played every genre. From artists like Sublime on the beach in the Gulf Shores area in Orange Beach to Bill Withers with blues to Jimi Hendrix with rock and roll and blues, Stevie Ray Vaughan. But then, we'd take a turn real quick and play Gary Allen because Gary Allen always had that gritty sound. Mm. In Alabama, we loved that Texas red dirt country sound. So artists like Casey Donahue, Reckless Kelly, Randy Rogers Band. So it was really widespread when it came to that, man. It molded me to the artist that I am today. And Mobile really is one of a kind city. And little fun fact, they're the ones that started Mardi Gras.
Really?
Yep.
I did not know that.
New Orleans does well, but Mobile invented it, man.
So does Mobile still have their own version of Mardi Gras or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Every year. Actually, I have not been able to go down there. We've just been so busy, but I actually got to go down there this past year, and I forgot how amazing it is to catch bees and drink hurricanes.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
like everyone associates. I'm from the Northeast. I wouldn't know.
You would think New Orleans.
Yeah. Everybody thinks and associates that with New Orleans.
But funny enough, it actually started in Mobile, Alabama. But yeah, it's definitely molded to get to where I am here today. And my Nashville story is basically I was just playing my entire life since I was 17 and high school prom after parties, and, local fraternities at University of South Alabama in Spring Hill. And throughout college, I went to Alabama and I found a niche in there playing for fraternities and sororities. I was in a fraternity up there and they had me play for their parties, and that just kind of got word of mouth. And I started getting opportunities up here in Nashville. And after college, I moved back to Mobile to play full time. And I was a server at a restaurant down there. And my old guitar player and his girlfriend moved to Nashville. So I hadn't seen her in a few months. We talked all the time. I'd never even visited Nashville. And he said he's loving it. all this good stuff. And he gives me a call out of the blue one day. We just got done with a show downtown on Dolphin Street. And it's about 2:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And the band and I were tired, might be a little tipsy on top of that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, after a good night.
Yeah.
And he calls me and he says, listen, man, you're going to love this town. You're going to do great. This is what you need to be doing. I got a room for $300 in a little town called Antioch.
$300 rent?
$300 rent, man.
Where did that go?
I don't know if he told his girlfriend at the time that I was coming, but at 3 a.m, I went back to my place, grabbed my guitar and a garbage bag full of clothes, and I left in a taxi cab that was a bit expensive to get to Nashville.
I could imagine, yeah.
And when I woke up in Nashville, I realized I had just moved to Nashville.
Yeah.
So
that quick,
man. I don't know what I was thinking in my head. We'd been playing in Mobile for a few years now, and around the Gulf Coast, through Louisiana, through Florida. And also I was touring with a Motown band that was touring up through Texas and the Houston area. And we would do conventions for Mercedes, a lot of wedding convention parties. And that all it just got to the point where it was time to make that move. And I mean, I probably could have been a little more responsible.
We all could be in that moving to Nashville moment.
I could have maybe, been a little more, but I got here. I woke up at like 8 a.m. I realized I did this. I called my boss and I left a voicemail that to this day, I hope he doesn't have, because there's no telling what I said on that voicemail. But I think at least there was, a thank you, and I'm quitting. I'm going to be a country star.
Yeah.
So that's what got me here to Nashville, man. Just a lot of preparation without even realizing it. Just redundancy and honky tonks down south. And it just all led up to finally saying to myself, if I didn't make this move in 20 years, I'd hate myself for not giving this a shot.
Right. You got to give it a shot.
I mean, I've been doing it since I was 17. And I'm looking back at it and I'm like, wow, I really have been doing this for this long now. Why am I not, really going to take the chance?
Yeah.
So, like I said, not in the most responsible way, but I took the chance, and it's been 8 years now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You mentioned the preparation, right? And really having the opportunity to perform, all throughout the South on a bunch of different projects. And I think that's really important, because before you move to Nashville, there is that period of honing your chops and learning how to go out and play, learning how to connect and collaborate with people. That is very important. I think a lot of people do move to Nashville and haven't really done that yet. They just think Nashville's the place to be and they'll get discovered and their dreams will come true. But you put the work in for years and years and years, and built up this repertoire. So when you made that decision, as snap as it was, you were ready.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. Yeah. I have met a lot of people that moved to Nashville, good musicians, phenomenal singers, songwriters, guitar players, whatever instrument. And they don't realize what it takes, the prep work from wherever you're from, playing in those smaller bars, playing in those honky tonks, to realize what it takes to really live and thrive in this town.
Right.
And most people probably last 6 months. Yeah. 2 years tops. But at the same time, they're not playing full time. Yeah. They're not writing. They're not, they just don't realize that it's every day, all day. This job is 24/7.
A lot of grit.
A lot of grit.
You need a lot of grit.
Oh, I have been humbled 1,000 times in my 8 years, man. Yeah. But you use that. Yeah. If you're smart about it, you use it. And I always love walking up to songwriters that I am blown away by at a writer's round or a showcase. And I go up to them and I ask them, hey, let's write a song. Or what's your process? Get to know them a little bit. See how they do things. Or if I see a guitar player on Broadway shredding a song, I'm like, teach me your ways, dude. Yeah. 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 Please let me get any sort of insight. I'll take it. Yeah. And I think it shows respect towards them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
yeah. You can always learn from the people around you, and you can always learn from the experiences that you have. And of course, moving here and going through that grind, you've had a chance to learned plenty of lessons. Like you said, you've been humbled 1,000 times over. And what I want to know is what has moving to Nashville, and especially in the way that you did, taught you not only about the music industry and what it takes, but taught you about yourself?
I've become more patient. I have become, what's the word? Less of an ego. I have become more open-minded when it comes to my craft. You work with a lot of people that have great ideas. And I used to write a lot of my songs, like for example, I used to write a lot of my songs just by myself, because I used to think, well, if it came from me, I might as well just put it on paper. But then because we didn't really have like writer showcases and writers rounds in the South and in Lower Alabama.
Right.
It just wasn't there. You made a living playing in the bars. So when I moved here and I started doing things like co-writes, for example, it's amazing what another artist can bring to a song as far as being open-minded, and that blew me away. And since then, that's one of the big things. My open-mindedness to other artists and other genres that can bring something really big to the table. So
yeah, and I think the collaborative spirit of the city, even as the city changes and grows, and I'm sure seen a lot of that change and growth in the past
in the 8 years. Yeah,
like there still is this like small town, like everybody knows everyone kind of sensibility where it's like you're better collaborating than you are existing on an island. You're better learning from each other and working together. Rising tide raises all boats than you are just like kind of keeping to yourself and keeping all the ideas to yourself. And I think it's very important to get out there and get immersed in that culture of co-writing, get immersed in the culture of like, you understand different components of the business, different functions of what people do in the business, and apply that to your own journey. Because at the end of the day, like it's so much more than just writing, recording, and releasing, especially in this modern industry.
This is a networking town. It is who you know in a lot of places. And this town is great because it allows you to go seek those people. There are events that you can meet people, whether it's a writer's round or a showcase or even a local concert around here. It's crucial as an artist. You're right. If you don't collab and you don't network and you don't meet people, then you're going to sit on that island. And yeah, you might have a great song, but what's the song if no one's going to hear it?
Right.
If you have no friends to show it to or support you, because it's a support system.
Right.
100%. It is. I mean, you have your group of friends that you write with, that they bring other people in, whether it's producers or label execs or A&R or publishing, and they're the ones that can really help you out as far as taking it to the next level. And if you're not going out, and yeah, it gets tiring. You're tired sometimes.
All the time.
All the time.
Tired is the default mode.
Tired is the default mode in this business, but it's worth it because you'll be sitting, like just the other night I went to a writer's round and there was a guy in there I'd met a couple times and he's written a lot of big hits, but he played a fantastic song the other night and it was written for Randy Houser. And I'm like, man, that's, as tired as I am, that was worth going out watching that. So yeah.
And I think it's really important too to keep in mind that like it just starts with the music. Again, it's I tell people all the time, the two harsh yet simple truths you need to keep in mind in this industry is that being a good musician is not enough, and you have to give people a reason to care, because there are so many people trying to do what you're trying to do.
Oh yeah, it's oversaturated.
Yeah. The market is completely, and especially with all the content that is just being pumped and just shoved down our throats day after day.
Look what an independent artist can do now. It's insane.
Everything. We have more tools at our disposal than ever, but at the same time, there's more people competing for that market share than ever. So my question to you is, how do you make yourself stand out?
So my 8 years of living here, I have written songs that sound like other songs, carbon copy. And I realized that, yeah, that can get you to a point. But if you're not going to be an original authentic, you're never going to get to that next level. You have to be yourself. That is the only way an artist is going to make it to wherever they want to be in this world, whether they're a writer or they want to be a recording artist. They want to play on these big stages like Nissan and Bridgestone. They're themselves. Yeah. They're authentic.
Yeah.
And if you tried to be the next one, sorry, he already exists. She already exists.
Yes.
They beat you. Find something else. Find you.
Yeah.
And in my years living here, I have built that, and I focus on that more and more each day of just being authentic and original, honest when it comes to songwriting, honest when it comes to, interviews or just meeting people in this town when it comes to networking, because that's the only way it's going to work. That's it.
Exactly. I mean, you look at, keeping things in the country genre, you look at what Lainey Wilson has done. Like, unbelievable rise. And when I first moved here, I went to a show at the Basement, like within a week or two of moving here, and she was opening for Delta Ray at the Basement, the OG Basement. Right? Yeah. And I'm like, wow, this girl's good. Like, she's really good. Yeah. And then a couple years later, during the pandemic, we were doing a lot of live streaming, and here we actually had the chance to work with her. And like, all of a sudden she has a team. Maybe she had a team before that. I don't know. But like, you could see like she had leveled up, but like also there was just this thing that she was putting forth that was like not quite being done anywhere else. Right. This in her presentation, and like, it was just her, and she couldn't fake that. Right.
No.
And then I had the chance on New Year's Eve to go cover as media the Nashville's Big Bash, where she's playing with Leonard Skinner and singing Sweet Home Alabama on that stage in front of the world.
You're going, whoa.
And I'm just like, that's the same artist that I saw open at the Basement 5 years ago, and she's here. And like, you could see the growth, but you can see what she never lost is who she is and where she came from in Louisiana, and like how all of that makes its way into what she does. You're right. You have to be yourself.
She's a grinder one. She's an inspiration to every artist that lives here. And you're right. She realized this is who she is. Don't apologize for it. Take the good with the bad, because that's the way people connect. If you're Superman, it's easy to be Superman.
Right. But Superman's boring. Superman's always been the most boring superhero.
He's perfect.
Yeah.
Everything about him, even his alter ego is perfect.
Right.
Right. Like, I've always, and I think most artists could agree with me, everyone loves the anti-hero because that shows the human side.
Yeah.
You see the mistakes, you see the darkness, but at the same time, you see the moral, the good morality out of it. So, and Lainey doesn't apologize for any of it.
Right.
So she's been a huge inspiration to me and every other artist down here. Guys like Jelly Roll.
Jelly, yeah.
Same thing. He takes the bad with the good.
Yeah.
And it makes people connect better because he's like, oh, he's not on just some pedestal on the CMT awards or CMA stages.
Right.
He's actually a normal human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
grew up right down the road in Antioch.
He's a local boy. I mean, you can't get better than that. But those are the artists like Lainey, like Jelly Roll, like a lot of the Texas guys, Cody Johnson, Cody Jinks, even guys like Wetzel. They don't apologize for the bad or the good.
Right.
They're just who they are.
Right.
And that's like we said, that's what you want. And that's what takes you from the OG Basement to holding a CMT award.
Yeah. To getting inducted into the Opry the other night.
Right. I mean, whoa, dude, that would be insane.
Yeah.
But that's it. She has figured that out. In my 8 years of living here, if you're not going to be that, then you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
Because then you're just going to be a carbon copy. And yeah, you might get a song on the radio, but that's where it's going to end.
Yeah. And you can chase the trend.
You can chase the trend. A lot of people do it.
Yeah.
A lot of people in this town do it. But I have always had more respect for the ones that necessarily didn't have the trending song on the radio. However, when I hear them in a writer's round, I'm like, wow, that's a well-written song by someone that believes in it.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
And I think most artists do. So that's why people like Lainey and Jelly Roll are so big right now, because I think real songwriting is really, I mean, that's the heart and soul of this town in the end.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. And you even look at like social media right now too, where I think, a few years ago, there was such as overemphasis on perfection. Like, here's me smiling in front of the Wings. Here's me at the Ryman. Here's me doing this. And like, I'm noticing, and not to throw shade at anybody, but the people who are still doing that stuff are getting left behind because it's not authentic. I'm trying to like, present myself as though I'm this big deal here in Nashville, but like, you're still building, you know, but the people who are like getting to that level are leaning into everything that they are, good, bad, and different, right?
Mhm.
And they're embracing it and they're making it a part of their brand. Your brand is you, just amplified, right? And so, you know, you look at people like Laney, you look at Jelly Roll, Struggle Jennings is another one.
Struggle Jennings.
You know, they've come from these humble beginnings and they've come from, you know, these real lives, and they're able to put that forth in what they do and do it so well that they're creating movements within country music, within music and entertainment in general.
Yeah. I mean, even the actors in the movie business, the guys that you see that do come from, you know, they live through their mistakes. Look at the Jack Nicholsons.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be forever loved.
Yeah.
Because he's just, you know, he's crazy, but, you know, you love him.
Yeah.
Because we all are.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, the audience will always bond to people, but I do remember, and there are some artists that still do that, you know, the whole like, this, you know, this is me. Look at me.
Look at my perfect life.
Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Look
Yeah.
at my beautiful condo, my beautiful cars. But they have no substance to it.
Right.
There's no song.
Yeah.
And if there is, it's
Yeah.
all right. But
Yeah.
but it won't take you where you want it to be. So all that time that you've been spending on the camera, you should have been writing.
Yeah. You should have been working and
Finding
connecting,
yourself,
network-
finding what
yeah.
your niche is in this business, finding, you know, what really pushes you emotionally. Like when I play these songs, man, I'm putting my heart and soul in. If it's in front of 2 people or 2,000 people, it's the, you know, same thing. So, but I do remember that there was like 2 artists that started doing the whole like trending look at my life,
Yeah.
and then a whirlwind of
Yeah.
new artists started doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It became. But you're right, that trend has died.
Yeah. And people are still doing it. But honestly, like as a consumer of social media, because I'm on it too much, like
me both.
I scroll past that stuff. I'm just like, okay, that's nice. Your parents paid for you to go to Europe. Like, great. Awesome.
Yeah. So you could take a picture.
Yeah.
in
I'd
front
be
of
like,
the Leaning
look
Tower.
at me. But like,
Yeah.
but what if it like, what have you done to build your platform other than this?
They
Other
haven't.
than just like,
Besides maxing out their credit cards.
yeah, maxing out their parents' credit cards.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much of that. And it's just like, it's not real.
No.
Like, and therefore I don't care.
But you notice that you'll never see their face again.
Right.
It's just through that one scroll.
Uh-huh.
That's it. It's done.
Yeah.
And they had their 15 seconds of fame. That'll be it for them. And until they turn around and say, whoa, this really is more about who I really am and the music that I put out, that's all it's going to be. So they better keep touring Europe and taking extravagant videos, because once that runs out, what do they have left?
Right, right. And then, I mean, there's something to be said for sharing the slices of life.
I understand that, which is part of life. But when all you do is show off.
Right.
That's really what it is.
If I'm questioning if you're even still a musician,
yeah, then there's a problem.
then there's a problem.
Then there's a problem.
Then you're missing the mark.
Then go be a travel content creator.
Yeah, awesome.
That'd be great.
But don't tell me you're a musician.
That'd be a cool job.
Yeah. Like, shoot, I'd take that job.
I would take that job. Send me to Europe. I'll go take videos in front of, you know, the
thirst trapping in front of the ocean.
The Roman Colosseum. You know, I'll be here in 2 seconds. Yeah. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And these artists, some of these artists still do that because unfortunately that's how they started. So they don't know how to switch it over.
Right.
Or they get scared because the followers that they do have might not be into their music.
Right.
Might not be really into who they are. So they just keep the same rotation going, same post, same type of post.
But to get philosophical, is that because they themselves haven't connected to who they are to communicate that in their music?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they haven't found who they are because for the most part, they're carbon copies of what they're already hearing out there.
Yep.
There's a Morgan Wallen already.
Yep.
Sorry. He got you. He beat you.
Yep. How many people are trying to be the next Taylor Swift? A half decade
how many are still doing it?
Yeah, they're still doing it. There's no next Taylor Swift.
I meet a lot of artists that write the songs that sound like they should be on a Taylor Swift album. The same progressions, the same type of writing, her style. And it's like, don't get me wrong, I have a million different influences.
Right.
But you can't, but if you're really yourself, you'll hear the best out of those influences without being an exact copy.
Right. And every single time there's a carbon copy, it has diminishing returns. I grew up in the 90s. Look at the boy bands. Okay, yeah, the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC.
They were monsters.
Yeah. And then 98 Degrees had some success.
Yeah.
Then LFO had a little bit of success. And then everybody else just like, they just beat the dead horse on it. They milked it dry.
They thought to themselves, oh, what an easy buck.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let me get 5 of my good looking buddies and me to start a band.
Yeah.
And at the time it was hot. So labels were like, sure, why not? Give them a contract. We'll see what happens. And like you said, LFO was probably the last one.
O-Town.
O-Town, okay,
nothing at all.
Right.
Yeah.
O-Town did well. I'm starting to think about it. Yeah.
But after that, like, I don't remember.
No. To be honest, besides NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys, maybe 98 Degrees. Those were like the 3 monsters of that era.
Right.
But then the same thing is happening in country music.
Yeah.
Look at the FGLs. Now, after that, there were pop country duo groups around the country.
Yep.
They all swarming towards Nashville. And I get it. If you're going to be a duo group, that's cool. Brooks and Dunn, amazing.
Yeah.
Montgomery Gentry, amazing. But you got to do it your own way.
You got to have your thing.
Your thing. And that just goes all the way back to just being authentic and being yourself.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it's hard opening up in this town.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
There are a lot of
people who will tell you not to.
Yes.
First of all.
A lot. And people that are in higher positions to tell you not to. So what are you going to do? But it's just not going to last. It's not going to last. And then you're going to make yourself crazy. Because now you've got a split personality of someone you're completely different.
Yeah.
So when people meet you, they're like, oh, it's not the kind of guy or kind of girl I knew.
Right.
Right. So there you go. Now you just disconnected yourself with your audience and your fans.
Right.
Because you couldn't be yourself.
Yeah.
And that haunts you in the end.
Yeah.
It does.
It's always going to catch up to you. Always going to catch up to you. You might have some success doing it for a little while, but it gives you something that's not sustainable that you need to maintain.
No. And like I said, the 8 years, it has been a process to find out who I really was as a songwriter, or who I am as a songwriter, who I am as a recording artist. But it's a beautiful thing once you find that.
Yeah.
When you just let the walls in and you go, all right, quit trying to be, just be yourself.
Right.
And it works.
Yeah.
And the moment that I started doing that on stage, when I stopped doing the whole, hey, everybody, and I just walked up one day and I was like, all right, this is it. Blah, 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 blah. This is me. They recepted 20 times better than they did when I was just saying the generics, hello, guys, welcome to wherever I'm playing today.
Yep.
You know? And I was blown away. And right then and there, it hit me. I was like, oh, you really do have to be yourself. And then I applied that to songwriting. All of a sudden, the songs were getting better reception. They were getting better receptive by the audience at songwriter rounds or showcases. All of a sudden, the audiences on the social medias and the digital distribution started rising fast. And I'm sitting there going, man, it really is true.
Yeah.
All these artists that say that. And I think every artist goes through that period of mimicking a little too much, and then if you're finally willing to make that transition, it is scary.
Yeah.
Because not everybody's going to like you.
Right.
You want in this business, it's funny, like the entertainment business, most people have the worst self-esteem issues. And this is what we do for a living.
Yeah. Right.
It's like,
we put ourselves
how
on
does that work?
Full display.
Put your full display your entire life. And
tear me apart, everyone.
We're the most self-critical people in the world.
Yeah.
So so it's insane. So that has a lot to do with it as an artist, man. I think a lot of it is just being scared to show people who you really are. But it's a beautiful thing. And every day I just have to remind myself, whether I'm going into a writer's room sometimes, or I'm going into the studio or being on stage, just let those walls down. Let them down. Let the people see who they are. Because even if out of the 100% of the audience, 90% will appreciate. You might not get the 10 or maybe 95% will appreciate, but it doesn't matter, because those 90% right there are the ones that are going to follow up with you.
Yes. The people who rock with you will rock with you.
Yes. And they're diehards, man.
Yeah.
We got people, I play downtown all the time. I've got people now that show up to every gig, and they're coming in from Kentucky, East Tennessee, West Tennessee, Arkansas, and they're driving in here, coming to the gig, coming out just for that one show. And I'm sitting there going, wow. And that all started from being just authentic.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
I didn't have that when I was not mimicking, but just not just letting the guard down and being myself.
Yeah.
So
even as speaking as somebody who's not actively a musician, I'll drop the mixtape one day. But like as somebody who's just building a platform, like I think this lesson applies no matter what type of platform you're building, because like in building the show and building Underground Music Collective, like. There was, especially after moving to Nashville and even before in Bethlehem, when we were Lehigh Valley Underground, I was like, okay, well, what does everyone else think we should be? Oh, maybe we should do that, and like when I moved here, there was a lot of like trying to find ways to fit in with the other media outlets who essentially wanted nothing to do with us because we were their competition. Right. And so really having to find that and not try to necessarily copy or pander to or cater to what anyone else was doing. What feels right for the platform? What feels right for those who it serves, right? And like, how do we attract more of those people into our ecosystem so we're building a true ecosystem? Like even with the show, like, there was definitely a certain period of time where it's like, I would just take any interview, anybody who want to come on. And it's just like, I, would listen back to some of those interviews. I'm like, this has no depth. This is just like question, answer, Good Morning America interview. And there I go. Second episode in a row on the stage, trashing Good Morning America. I'll never be on the show. But
hey, I'm sure I've said a few things now that there's, some unhappy customers,
but that's proof's in the pudding right there, because 3 years ago, even 2 years ago, I would have never said that on camera.
You would have had a full script.
Yeah. I would have never said that. I would have been afraid to make anyone mad. But like the people I was afraid of making mad, they're not paying my bills. No. You know what I mean? Like they don't care one way or another. So you might as well just be who you are. And the people who are going to rock with that are going to rock with that.
That's funny that you say it, because I got my first hater on social media the other day. This guy was tearing me to pieces, and I'm sitting there laughing because I was like, "Oh, I got a hater. Let's go.
Yeah,
you're doing something.
Signs of progress.
I mean, I started laughing at the comments, and of course, I killed him with kindness. I was like, "Oh, thanks so much, man. Make sure you check out the new single.
Yeah,
I'll send the pre-save to you." But I'm sitting there going, "Okay,
yeah,
there we go." And you're totally right. You can't, you're going to have people that don't like it, but because you're very much in the entertainment business, you have to, and your show has to be completely separate than anyone else that's doing this. Yeah. And it's just like the music. It's just like the music. Same thing.
Yeah. I mean, this show in itself is just a, collage of all the things it's ever been. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there are people out there who see this show and they think like, oh, you should really niche down. No, like I'll interview a musician one day. I'll interview a therapist the next day. I'll get on Zoom with my co-host the next episode. Like I'll do one by myself. Like it is whatever it needs to be in the moment.
That keeps it interesting.
Exactly.
That keeps it original.
And multifaceted.
Exactly. Which, in this business you need. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because it keeps you open-minded towards new guests or new ideas, new show topics. Because you just don't want to be doing the same redundancy, because then you lose the love for it.
Right. Yeah.
You love what you do. I love what I do. That is the, going back to that question we said earlier, like what brings you the whole music thing? What brings your passion? It's because I love to do it.
Yeah.
It wasn't about the money. It was about a girl in 7th grade that I had a crush on, and I had no idea how to tell her. So I learned a song that I knew she liked, and I played it at the high school talent show. That's why I did it.
Yeah. And here we are.
Yeah. So like there, you got to do this for the love, and I know that sounds generic as well, but it's the truth. It's 100% the truth, because you're not going to spend the entertainment business, this business, your show, my music. There is so much behind the scenes going on.
Yes.
It's not just show up. Hey, nice to meet you. Let's wing it. It's not. Yeah. It's not. Same thing with music. You are constantly rehearsing for different shows. You're constantly moving around, whether it's the networking or you're going to co-writes or you're in the studio that day. I mean, it's 24/7. And if you don't love this, you're not going to put in the work that you need to do.
Yeah.
You're just not.
Because that love is going to be what lights the dark hours. Because newsflash, everyone out there, this is not all sunshine and rainbows. There's more challenge associated with this than there is triumph.
There's a lot of fail.
Yeah, there's a lot of fail before
you
even start to scratch the surface of success.
I have played in front of nobody but bartenders for a while, especially when I first moved here. I played for free. I played for tips, a bar tab, and a meal. And for the most part, it was an odd time in the middle of the week. No one was in there, but it helped me learn my craft because every person that would walk in, whether it was one person or a couple or a bachelorette party, I had earned those people to keep them there. I had to learn how to keep these people there.
Yeah,
I had to put on the show of my life, whether it was one person or 300. And you can't do that if you're just kind of in it for the money, or kind of in it for fame. You gotta love it. You gotta love it, because even if you fail in something you love, you still love it unconditionally. Yeah. And that's all it is.
And it's still a part of you.
100%.
It's still a part of the fabric of who you are, and it becomes ingrained. You know, like it's, you know, I'm to the point. I started this show 11 years ago, like in August, and I wouldn't. I don't know that there's much that could get me to stop at this point. You know what I mean? And like we all get to those points where it's like, all right, like should I? I don't see that point coming again because I've been through it all at this point.
You go through that one time. You're like, did I make the right decision to do this? And then you look back at it. Then you look what your life could have been like
without
outside of this. Like if I would have chosen to stay in Alabama and worked wherever and settled down, work at a tackle shop in Orange Beach, that would have been it, but it wasn't me. And that's not you.
I could have stayed in Bethlehem.
Could have stayed in Bethlehem.
I love Bethlehem. I go back to
Bethlehem. Had a great job. 9 to 5. Go home to your dog, cat, lizard, fish, whatever you're
whatever other creatures.
I'm working on a cactus right now. I'm starting with a cactus.
Oh, okay.
Starting slow.
Yeah. Why a cactus?
I heard they were easier to take care of.
Right. So, they don't really require a lot of water.
So
they hold water really well.
I'm starting with a cactus.
Yeah.
We'll move on from there. Maybe next like a fern. And then maybe
get into more, you know,
a
advanced.
Goldfish, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah.
Our hours are just like your hours. They're insane.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to do anything because basically my apartment is just where I sleep and shower.
Yeah.
And then I'm back out again, whether it's on the road or stages around here or whatever we're doing.
I was just telling somebody yesterday, I have a 1-bedroom. I'm like, I should just downgrade to a studio. I'm never there.
Most artists do around here.
Yeah.
Especially the ones that live in the metro area. I mean, they don't mind it because they're never there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Literally where I go and sleep, and that's it.
Yeah.
And
that's
like.
It. You shower, sleep, store your stuff, and then get back out.
Yeah. That's the grind. But, you know, again, we do it because we love it, and we do it because what else would we do?
I tried waiting tables. I wasn't the best at it. I tried a few jobs, and I never saw it going anywhere.
Right.
But every time I'd play music on the side or when I even started playing full time in the beginning, I saw opportunities. I saw that there was a gradual rise in this. And I said to myself, well, I love what it's doing. I love the way it makes me feel. I love the process and the stages I get to be on and the places I get to record. And it's getting bigger and bigger. Why stop? Why even question it?
Yeah.
And you question it from time to time. That's human.
Yeah.
But when you really break it down, you're like, oh, these are champagne problems.
Right. Yeah.
You know, poor me. Like, so, yeah.
And I think too, like if you can go from that point of singularity to here, you can go from here to the next milestone, to the next milestone, to the next milestone. Like it will go as far as you will it to go. And as long as you stay in the game and keep using the lessons and keep getting better and keep building better relationships, keep building a better relationship with yourself, like that is truly the long game.
Right.
You know, like as you do all those things, like the opportunities are going to come. You're going to learn better, more efficient ways to build the platform, to connect with people. You're going to learn, new ways to perform. You're going to learn, about new people and potential collaborations and opportunities. Like but you have to go through the mud.
Yes.
You just have to go through the mud. You have to figure out the way not to do things in order to find out better ways to do things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like we said, failure is part of this game.
Mm-hmm.
In the entertainment business, there's a lot of no's before there are yeses.
Yes.
That's just part of it. But you're right. Without that, look, this job isn't easy. Your job isn't easy. If it was, like they say, everyone would be doing it.
Right.
So, of course, there's always like the sensation that puts a 30-second YouTube video clip out and boom, record deal.
Right.
International tour. But for 99% of us, it's a grind.
Yeah.
I actually had an old timer that I used to play on Broadway with. He had played drums for Patsy Cline. I mean, you name it. Opry members from generations. And he said, Danny, whatever you do, just don't leave. And he was so right, because this was about 5 years ago. And I didn't have the best gigs in the world. I was very much grinding, trying to get what I could get. And I remember him telling me, he goes, dude, you know how many people with talent just leave when things are getting rough? Don't leave. And 3 years later, I'm in the studio cutting my second single. We're about to hit the road. We're about to hit the EP, 4-song EP as well. Things are moving so fast now. And he was 100% right.
Yeah.
Don't leave.
And so you're about to see the fruits of your labor over the years.
Whew.
So let's go into that. Let's go into the music that's coming, what we can expect, the timeline for everything.
Yeah. So I got a new single out called Her Favorite Color. It'll be on all the digital distribution, ugh, that's a tongue twister. It'll be on everything from Spotify to Pandora to YouTube to Apple Music, Amazon Music, all that good stuff. And that'll be released on July 18th.
Okay.
And then we're back in the studio again around that same time to get another single out. Hopefully we'll have that one. I think either by the end of September, I believe that's what we're heading to. And then we've got a couple festivals that we're playing at. They're still working on that right now, but I think we're going into the Midwest. I think we're going to hit Nebraska, North and South Dakota, and hopefully we'll go as far as west as California, because I always wanted to see California.
Yeah.
So just to say, I want to see the Hollywood sign.
Yeah.
I want to see it just one time. So they're trying to make plans to go to California as well. And in the meantime, I'm just going to be back and forth from Nashville, playing in Nashville as well, and then on the road. And then the EP should be done, if anything, probably beginning of January of next year, which is going to be good, man, because there's a lot of good new songs on there. I'm working with some incredible folks, whether it's the songwriters that I keep dear to me, or Saxman Studios, Grady Saxman, who he's done work with. You name it, from Luke Combs.
Everybody.
Yeah, he's a monster. I mean, you go into a studio with a guy like that, and he's one hell of a drummer. Yeah. So like you're hearing his drums, you're hearing the way he produces, and he's very vocally attentive. So him and I will really sit down. And it's funny, he goes, I'm not really, he goes, you can hit the notes. I want to hear that tone. I want to hear the emotion behind it. And that's what separates him as a producer. Yeah. Is that he really wants people to hear the emotion out of your voice. A lot of producers, they want more of the note. Then they can kind of, nowadays, Pro Tools and all that good stuff, you can do whatever you want. But he himself wants it more organic. Yeah. And that's what I love working with Grady Saxman, because he really is, he dials that in. And he will spend however long it takes to make sure that we both feel good about this song. So yeah, I'm excited, man. Like I said, July 18th, Her Favorite Color. I wrote it with Daisy Sellis and Hunter Kerbo, two good friends of mine that I grew up playing on Broadway with as well. And they're two great songwriters, and they know my style as the more red dirt, gritty country. I'd say, like you and I was a 90s baby. Yeah. So 90s rock and roll was the best from artists like I said, Sublime. Yeah. That was always big. I always loved Bradley Nowell's songwriting. Yeah. Fuel. I mean, all those guys. Even Blink-182. I loved the Enema of the State album, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. Those were incredible pop punk albums.
And that was another band that everybody tried to emulate.
Oh.
Everybody was trying to sound like Tom DeLonge in the early 2000s.
As soon as that came out.
Yeah.
When Dude Ranch came out, that album, people already started copying it.
Yeah.
And when Travis Barker joined the band, whoa. Because Mark's got great songwriting, and I've always loved him as a songwriter.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. How many carbon copies came off of Blink-182?
Right. Everybody started singing with that, like that.
Yeah, the Southern California.
Where are you?
He's the only Southern Californian that could pull that off.
Right.
You know, he's the only one that has got that true, because when he talks, you hear it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that dude's a surfer from San Diego.
Right.
Yeah. You can totally hear it. So it's authentic. And that's what separated them, is because you heard a guy like Tom.
Yeah.
You heard the vocals from Mark, and you were like, no one else sounds like that.
Right.
No one else was writing songs like that.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, but even the grittier stuff like Stained, I always loved.
I was a big Limp Bizkit guy.
Limp Bizkit?
And honestly still am.
Oh, Fred Durst, man.
There was only one Limp Bizkit.
Oh, West
Portland.
West Portland. Dude. Whoa.
Monster.
I always I've always been the front guy, but I always considered myself more of with the band. I've never been like the guy that's like, oh yeah, look at me. I love, like when we're playing a show and I hear the guitar player doing something sick, I'll turn around and be like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll stop what I'm doing and be like, keep doing whatever you're doing. If I'm hearing the drums killing it, or bass, because I love bass and drums. I've always been a big bass and drums
I'm
fan.
a sucker for a good bass line.
Oh,
yeah.
When they do it right, man, I'm telling you. But Limp Bizkit was always great. And then you got the Linkin Parks and that new metal era.
Linkin Park was so innovative.
Dude.
So innovative.
It was crazy what they did. I loved how they, like nowadays, unfortunately, I think the DJ is almost the band in a lot of ways.
Right.
So they've got like 2 other guitar players up there, but there's no bass. The drums is kind of playing with the, basically the backtrack is doing most of the work.
Yeah.
So when you hear guys like Linkin Park, we see those guys live. And we just got done seeing Breaking Benjamin.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Love Breaking Ben.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Every bandmate does exactly what the track is supposed to do without any sort of help behind them. They're pros.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about Linkin Park. That's what I loved about Limp Bizkit. Pros.
Yeah.
Like whatever they recorded in that studio, they can emulate by themselves out there. Yeah. And of course they use DJs for like the cool, like they did it right with the DJ.
Yeah.
They did it very right. Like that's like, I always loved Maroon 5. Their first album, Songs About Jane, blew me away.
Yeah.
Pop, jazz, blues, rock. I mean, whoa.
Yeah.
And you'd hear them play as the full band. And it was on, I mean, Adam Levine's fantastic.
Yeah.
But the band they have, you look at those guys and you're like, how did you find that perfect, like you found a guy to fill in every perfect spot in order for the sound to sound right. And that's why I've always appreciated the 90s bands and the early 2000s bands, because they didn't have a lot of help. You had to be good.
Right.
That, you didn't have to like hide behind a track. Like you really had to be able to sing. You had to be able to play guitar. Like listen to the lead singer from Fuel. Whoa. Yeah. There's no help with that. That's him.
In my hands. In my hands.
She calls me from the cold.
And that's the thing, is we remember it. It's memorable.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing else like that era of music. And it's finally having its day again. Like
it is.
Everyone for so long was like, oh, Limp Bizkit always sucked. I never liked. You all loved Limp Bizkit. You all loved Creed.
Bizkit. You all loved Creed, and you loved Nickelback. And you're a liar or you're jealous because you can't do what Nickelback can do. Nickelback could sell out any arena, including Nissan Stadium, in 15 minutes. And you're jealous because you can't do that. I'm envious, but I love those guys. If you ever get a chance, there is a YouTube video of the live at Sturgis Sturgis Motorcycle Rally in 2007 of Nickelback. It's flawless.
They're incredible live.
It's the most incredible thing. I mean, it's incredible. I've never seen anything like it.
I saw them open for Bon Jovi in 2006.
Oh, wow.
Have a Nice Day tour. Nickelback opened for Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
And
what a lineup that was.
Awesome live. Awesome live. I can say nothing bad about Nickelback, and neither should you.
Neither should you.
Yeah. It's time to love Nickelback again.
The album Silver Side Up was from the first track to the last track. And that's something I also miss, is that, and I think we're bringing it back. And I think because rock and roll is making its way into country music, I think the full albums are starting to come back.
Yeah.
Because now it's bringing a theme to the album.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much just, oh, here's that single that did well. Let's just put all the singles together.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which you still add a couple singles to the track because people want either the remastered version or the bigger version of it.
Right.
But because rock and roll is so theme oriented in albums,
yes,
you can actually buy the album or listen to it on whatever streaming service, and you can just go down the list and let it play. And that's what I miss. And I'm glad that's starting to really make a comeback in music.
Yeah.
Because look, you're right. Look at Creed and Nickelback right now. They're as big as they've ever been.
Yeah. Yeah. The second golden age of Creed is upon us.
Hey, I love it.
In August. I'm going to see them.
Are you really?
Yeah. Pennsylvania. Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. My sister got me those tickets for Christmas. I was so excited.
I would have lost my mind. Dude.
I did.
That's the best Christmas present I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. It was amazing. I was not expecting it either. Cause I'm like, so you can get me Creed tickets. And she's like, oh, I don't have money for it. Then I open it up and they're there. I'm going to see Creed.
I'm so jealous. Dude, if they ever come back around through Nashville.
November.
Okay, I'll be there.
Yeah.
It'd be worth it.
Yeah.
Because I was going to go see the Brantley Gilbert with Nickelback, but I had to play there around that time. So I was like, man, because that'd have been a cool concert. Brantley Gilbert's a great artist. He's always had that kind of rock and roll edge to him with the country music. But yeah, and that's making a huge comeback now, which is great because that's kind of my niche. I don't get me wrong. I'll sing, write, play, whatever. If it's done right, I love every genre of music possible. Right. If I hear a pop song that's got me moving, I'm like, oh, it's a great song.
Yeah.
What was that one? Party in the USA, Miley Cyrus. When I heard that guitar lick, I went, okay.
Yep.
Okay, you got me going.
You can't hate that song.
No, you can't hate it. Or any of like the, where it's just the like Marshmello producing or Skrillex and you're hearing the crazy sounds. And I mean, it's really cool what they're doing.
Right.
So it'd be a shame as a songwriter to not open your mind up to every genre.
Right.
Because you can learn so much from the B.B. Kings, the Stevie Ray Vaughns, the Jimi Hendrixes, through the Bill Withers, through the Prince. And I mean, you can go, look at Britney Spears. I had a request for Britney Spears, Hit Me Baby One More Time. I played it acoustically broken down. If you ever listen to it just broken down acoustically without the crazy sounds, the crazy, it's a very well written song.
Yeah.
You go, oh my God, this is great.
Yeah.
So as a songwriter, I have, that's really what's really helped me as far as songwriting is the fact that I am very open to punk rock, hard rock, deathcore. I love those heavy licks those guys can do.
And breakdowns.
Oh, it's so awesome. And the new metal era, I guess that's what they call it, the early 2000s kind of stuff. But no, country music and rock and roll are starting to make a blend. The pop country, they'll always have a market. It's big. It'll always be big.
Oh, sure.
But I like how, and I think that's credit to a lot of the Red Dirt guys, a lot of the guys from Alabama, the Red Clay Strays. They're a very bluesy rock country band. They're starting to make a big hit. Muscadine Bloodline is another guys that I know from Mobile. They've always stuck to that kind of sound. And then you got guys like Cody Johnson, Cody Jinks. Like I said earlier, Co Wetzel, he's a very rock and roll guy there. And those are coming to, like I just went to Whiskey Jam and CAA put on a show, their company, and it was a bunch of rock and roll country. And I'm sitting there going, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
It's starting to make that surge. And I think people have been waiting for that because people have been waiting for, like we talked about, the songs that have the theme where you can just go 1 through 12. You can laugh, you can get angry, you can cry, and then you can party through the entire album as you go through it in your mind.
Right.
So I think it's great, man.
Yeah. And I think it's happening in other genres too. Bon Jovi just did that. And the album they just released, Forever. Like, honestly, I think it's their most complete album since Crush in 2000. Because first of all, you had the threat of...
That tells you something right there.
Yeah. Like, the threat of John not being able to perform anymore, I think lit a fuse in his writing because he's going through all that vocal stuff. And like, you can really hear a lot of that coming through in the lyrics and the storytelling. Like, there's no filler on this album. There's no filler on the album.
That's awesome.
And you can hear like sonically, instrumentally, like the callbacks to every different era of that band. Like there's definitely like Keep the Faith era moments on there. There's definitely callbacks to like the heyday in the 80s, right? There's callbacks to The Lost Highway and that whole Americana thing from 2007. Like, and it all blends together, and it's their 40th anniversary, and it's such a perfect collage, but it tells a story. And that story, according to John, is like finding joy in the uncertainty of everything. Right. Because he doesn't know if he's ever going to tour again.
Yeah, like, that's scary, man, because he is a monster act.
Mm-hmm.
He really is something special. But that just shows you right there. He's not scared to use his influences. He's not scared to be himself. And that's why he's John Bon Jovi.
Exactly.
That's why he has the name of a bar on Broadway right now.
Yeah. That's why that band has the biggest influence, the biggest legacy of any band of that era. And there's not a close second. Like, you could say Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, they have their thing. But
the
like
80s hair metal thing was, and I like that era just because I like that that world that they lived in was insanity. If you ever read the books from like Motley Crue, you ever see that movie The Dirt, things like that, you're like, these people just lived a reckless life and somehow got paid millions of dollars to do it. It almost seems like Bon Jovi were more responsible-ish kind of band that said, you know, if we want to last, we can't do what they're doing. At least not for long. Because notice a lot of those bands a lot of them faded out. They had their couple of hits, but because they were living in that insane world of rock and roll, they didn't just have the longevity. And I think Bon Jovi, he always took care of himself in a way. That way.
And he took care of his guys when they were being pushed that way. Like, toward, you know, just constantly touring, constantly being on the road. He pumped the brakes. He fired his management. He's like, I'm taking over. And that was the best decision he ever made from a business standpoint. Got his guys into therapy in the late 80s, early 90s.
See, that's huge.
Especially in that era.
What other front man? Usually the front man's the worst one.
Right.
He's going to tell the band to go get help.
They did group therapy, everything.
See, that's what makes John Bon Jovi him, is that he's a leader. And not just a front man of a band, he's a leader. And I think even today's artists, like when you look at someone like Taylor Swift, I think she's probably the most busiest artist in the world. I don't think she has a second for herself. But you can see that I think she really does have hands-on everything she's doing. And that's what makes her Taylor Swift. Is that, she has great people with her, great companies, but in the end, she's the one that makes those decisions. What she's wearing, what's the act going to look like, where are they going, what new songs for the album. And she's got how many albums now that people religiously listen to?
Over and over and over
I mean, it's crazy. It's Swifties, man. When she came to Nashville and did those 3 nights at Nissan Stadium that sold out in 2 seconds, people were wearing the clothes from certain albums. I don't know anyone else that's got that going on.
I'll say this, and I
mean, say what you want about Taylor, but whoa.
Like, I'll die on this hill. I don't think there's ever been an artist in recorded music history that has been better at connecting with her fans and maintaining that connection. I don't think, and I'm throwing the Beatles and Elvis in there.
I was just about to say Elvis and the Beatles, but even then, I don't think they had the
longevity wasn't there.
And they didn't have the technology to get to them.
Right.
A lot of like those bands were mysterious because they could only do so much to connect with their audience. Besides playing live or the occasional Ed Sullivan interview. So like Taylor can go on all social media platforms. She's got the resources now that if she wants to just go to a meet and greet in the middle of nowhere, Alabama, she can.
And people will flock to her.
And people will flock. And they love her. They love her because, dude, she's unapologetic about who she is. She writes about her own thing. How many ex-boyfriends has she written about? From John Mayer to,
watch out, Travis. Don't be next.
Oh, yeah. Good luck, buddy. If you do, you make sure, it's a good one. John Mayer's was a good one. Speaking of which, that's also a guy that's very hands-on too with everything he does. Look at all the projects he does outside of his own thing. Another busy artist that he was touring with the Dead, doing the jam band scene when he's not doing his own thing. I watched him. I have a DVD of him live in LA, and he's the acoustic opening act. Then he gets the John Mayer Trio act after that as another opener.
Yeah.
And then he does his full band.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there going, and it was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the acoustic act. I loved the blues trio act.
Yeah.
And then the whole shabam at the end where it was John Mayer's band. And you're sitting there going, that guy just opened up for himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they loved it.
And the wild thing is, he's as huge as he is. And, you know, aside from those couple early radio hits, like radio doesn't give him any love.
No.
Hardly at all. You know? And he's a monster and he sells out everywhere he goes.
Anywhere he goes,
Yeah.
man. And I mean, he's got a cult following,
Mm-hmm.
including myself. I love watching it. He's got that very Jimi Hendrix, B.B. King, Stevie Ray Vaughan playing of guitar style.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I even think he has like a Stevie Ray Vaughan tattoo on his arm, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that tone of that Stratocaster, the
Yeah.
PRSs that he uses. They're amazing. I always wanted to try to mimic Stevie Ray Vaughan's tone. And so I looked it up, okay, how do I get Stevie Ray Vaughan's tone? And then I'm looking at amps that haven't been made since 1973.
Right.
So I'm trying to find, Dumble amps from God knows where, but you realize that a lot of it is just the way they played.
Yeah.
And that's what separated them. Like, no matter what pedal you have or beautiful amp or guitar you have, if you can't play with that type of feel and that type of emotion, it's never going to sound.
Right.
Like we said, there's only one Stevie Ray Vaughan, only one John Mayer. And yeah, besides those couple hits, like Why Georgia Why and the Room for Squares album,
Yeah.
after that, couple songs, but for
Yeah.
the most part, you heard all his music because you went and bought the album.
Yeah.
You were like, I'm going to buy the new John Mayer album. He's another one that still sells albums.
Yeah.
Is because people are so dedicated to him. But he's a real musician. So I'm glad that people are buying albums of his because he writes his music. He sits down with bands that really work with him. They're pros. And it's a wonderful thing. Kind of like, you like the Limp Bizkit. Those guys wrote all their own stuff. Westmoreland. Whoo.
Yep.
Yeah. Good luck trying to mimic that.
Right.
Good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. There's one
Westmoreland, man.
One of one. One of one.
I love that. I always love Limp Bizkit because I love the pageantry that they used to put in their shows. He would decked out in all the costumes.
They still do.
Yeah.
Fred Durst is in on it now too.
I like that. I see he's doing like different themes now. I saw him with the beard and the
looking like Michael McDonald for a little while.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Yep.
But it was awesome because he's playing like break stuff by looking like Michael McDonald.
Yeah.
It's awesome. But yeah, man, it's a wonderful thing that I think songwriting and I don't want to say real music because, like I said, I like all genres, but it is good that heart and soul songwriting is really going back to the radio again.
Yes.
I think in a way, instead of just this works, so let's just keep going.
Like, don't bore us, get to the chorus.
Don't bore us, get to the chorus, which, hey, look, it worked for Tom Petty, but good luck trying to emulate Tom Petty.
Yeah, if you're bored, then you're boring.
If you're bored, you're boring. Yeah, so it's great that you're hearing these songs on the radio now, and I think that shows that people are reaching out. Look at the Zach Bryans. That guy's following is insane.
Oh yeah.
Has he ever had a hit on the radio? I've never heard it. Maybe Something in the Orange. That was probably the only one, but you don't hear it much.
Right.
Yet he sells out Red Rocks. So that just shows you that people are really searching, not just having it on their platter like it used to be.
Right.
So for like 10 years, remember, it was just like, it was ever on the radio, you listened to it.
Yeah.
And that's just what it was.
Yeah.
Whether you liked it or not, you ended up knowing the words anyways, because the same 5 songs played on the same radio stations over and over again.
Yeah.
The beautiful part about this whole the social media and artists, independent artists being able to put out their own music is that now people can really search for what makes them feel good or sad or whatever.
Yeah.
For whatever they're looking for out of an artist. And that's a wonderful thing as far as these new platforms go.
Yeah.
Social media is a beast of itself. It is.
Yeah.
Distributing independently is a beast in itself. But if you do it right, you spend the time with it, and don't get lazy with it, because I know some great songs that will never be heard because there's a lot of prep that goes into it. I've been working with Jess from Native Manor Artists. And I did, her and I sit down and we've got a 2-3 month prep
Mhm.
before we're even releasing this song.
Yeah.
There is so much that goes into this, as
Mhm.
far as from the PROs to the advertisements to the sizzlers to all the promotional things through Spotify and YouTube. I mean, there's so much that goes in it, and it's helping independent artists. It is.
Mhm.
As long as you really sit down with it and you believe in the song that you're recording.
Mhm.
Because I think a lot of artists make that mistake of being iffy about their songs.
Yeah. Mhm.
And if you're iffy going into it, then it's going to sound iffy
Mhm.
on the track.
Right.
Believe in it.
Yeah.
Get in that studio, man.
Yeah.
You know?
And they're just as iffy, a lot of artists, about the tools at their disposal too. Like, oh, why do I have to make content? Why do I see it? Threads has taken over for Twitter or X now, as far as the place where everyone complains. Why do I have to make content? Oh, the algorithm sucks. Spotify sucks. Everything sucks. It's all in how you use it. These are all individual marketing tools that you build your ecosystem with, right?
Yeah.
If you're relying on Spotify to pay your rent, you're barking up the wrong tree.
Good luck.
You're
man.
like, not going to happen. But if you're relying on Spotify as one of many marketing tools in your arsenal, that's the ticket. But the problem is, you know, you have this mindset that some artists have where it's just like, oh, well, I'm just making music and it's good, so people should care. You have to give people a reason to care, like we talked about.
And
if you're not doing that.
Yeah, that comes from being yourself and original in front of that camera.
Yeah. Because
that's how they connect. They connect with you nowadays way before they connect with the song could be beautiful. And don't get me wrong, you have to have a good song that people are going to listen to and pay, because like you just said, Spotify's not going to pay your bills. Neither is Amazon Music or Apple.
Right.
That's just the way it is. But you know, you make your money touring and selling merch. So you need people to sit in those seats and pay for those tickets. That's not cheap.
Right.
It ain't cheap. So they have to like you. And in order for that to happen, there are plenty of platforms that you can use to show who you are. And I think, and like we talked about earlier, I think a lot of it is we all as artists have very low self-esteem and we're very self-critical.
Right.
During shows, you can ask any artist, I guarantee you they'll say this unless they're lying, that they remember the bad notes than the good ones.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah.
And they focus on that and it kills them. Doesn't matter how many people just walked up to you and said, man, that was awesome. Because they all think that everyone in the stands is a musician. And it's like American Idol.
Right. Everyone's judging me.
These people like you.
Yeah.
They want to enjoy your music. Let them enjoy it. Don't sit there and go, oh, they're going to be really angry about that one. Yeah, you can't do that. Everyone's guilty of it though.
Right. Yeah. But the thing is, like, how do you roll with it? How do you own it? How do you can integrate it into the act and it's fine, you know, like nobody's judging. It's all in how but if you stand there going, oh, I messed up. Sorry. Let me start like.
Oh yeah. Starting over. That's another thing you don't do. Gotta stop. We're going to start the song over. Whoa. No.
Just roll with it.
Yeah. Roll with it. Go into that next note, kill it, own it, embrace it.
Yeah.
And the crowd will either forgive you that they even knew that there was a problem or they didn't know it all and they're just enjoying your song.
Right.
And that's all you need, man.
Yeah.
And the more I've noticed I'm having just fun up there, that gravitates towards the crowd. That's huge. If you're a robot up there, I know some singers that are, I mean, we're talking Adele type of vocals in Nashville. Because I mean, we're in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
There's gold.
Yeah, so much talent.
Gold. I mean, it's amazing, some of these voices, some of these players. But they stand there in front of the microphone and the robots and they just go through it and go through it. If you're not
reading off the iPad.
That's all they're doing. But they won't even move around. They won't connect with their band. And that's got a lot to do with you. If you're having good chemistry with the band, use that. Use that energy. Use that energy outside the crowd, because when you're having genuinely a good time, they will gravitate towards that and then they will have a good time. And that's got a lot to do with it, man. And that, you know, that goes back to being yourself and being your brand. And then they'll say, hey, do you have a song that's out on Spotify? Well, yes, I do. So they relate you having that fun on that stage and them having fun to your song now. So now it brings them back to whatever.
Yeah.
And bam.
It all comes down to people buy on emotion.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
People relate the feeling you gave them to the experience they had with you. If you gave them a fun experience, they're going to want more of that experience. If you gave them an awkward experience, they're not going to want more of that experience.
Unless you love awkwardness. You know, which I certainly don't, man.
I don't either.
Yeah. Ask my exes. It's pretty bad. Yeah.
Well, this has been awesome, man. We could certainly, I'm sure, go on and on and on.
I'm sure we could go all day, man. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me, Roy.
Yeah, definitely. Now, before I let you go, and before we tell everyone where they can learn more about you online, I have one more question.
All right.
If you could go back to the kid who learned that song for the girl you liked at the very beginning of the journey and tell him the most important lesson you've learned along the way, what would that be?
It's a good question. It's a lot of years ago, man. I was sitting in my room at my parents' house. I could barely even play a chord. What did I tell him? You're going to make mistakes. Some of them are going to be bad. Embrace it. If you love someone, you tell them you love them. And don't you dare stop playing that guitar in that room. You keep playing it. You keep playing it. You keep writing those goofy songs about that girl you liked. And just don't stop. Because I don't think that kid realized that he had a knack for something without even realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
It took me being in my 30s to realize, oh, I actually had a knack for this years ago and I didn't even realize it. So, yeah, and don't apologize for who you are. Because I think, like I said, I had real self-esteem issues, especially in high school when everyone did.
Yeah.
So that's just compounded. Mm-hmm. And and it was hard for me sometimes. So don't apologize for who you are, kid, because in the end, you're going to be living in Nashville, Tennessee, working with some amazing producers. You're going to meet amazing friends. You're going to be in incredible relationships that either hit the ceiling and crash and burn or are steady and with you forever. So that's what I would tell that kid.
Danny Spiro joining us on the Quinn Spinn. Where can they learn more about you?
DannySpiro.com. You can find me on my website. It's got all my social medias. You can find me at Danny Spiro when it comes to Instagram, TikTok, Danny Spiro Music on Facebook. And if you need to reach me, you can either reach me on the website. We got a newsletter that just came up now. So if you want to subscribe, go on the website. It'll be the first thing that pops up. Put in your email. It'll put all my tour dates, the releases for the single, Her Favorite Color, coming in July 18th, the EP, and local dates around Nashville as well. So come on, check it out, man. We'll show you a good time.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me, man. It's a pleasure.
This has been the Quinn Spinn, 2 N's and Quinn, 2 N's and Spin. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and more, as well as on the socials at Quinn Spinn Official on Instagram and Threads, which I just bashed Threads, but go there anyway. And Facebook and TikTok, it's the Quinn Spinn. Underground Music Collective is our central hub for all things independent music, creativity, community, and more. UMCNashville.com will take you there, and UMC Nashville will take you to the vast majority of our socials as well. At Nash Live shows, we have a Nash Live experience on this stage. July 20th, we have Shawnee Rain, Fiona Mara, and Hugh G. It's our Sonic Kaleidoscope here, July 20th, right here where I am sitting and where Danny's sitting. And if you want to follow me for updates on all those things, the occasional Creed post and, pretty copious fitness thirst traps at Gerard Longo 12. Revel 9's all I become. Going to take us out like it brought us in. Grab some muffins on the way out.